I suppose we're interviewing Reba Phillips. And how many Phillipses live on this road?
Well,
Maybe you don't know the answer to that.
there's three of the children live here, Eddie, Jean, and Donna,
So
on Phillips Road.
was a good name to give it. Miss Phillips, it's a pleasure to come to your home and talk with you. Are you a native of Marshall County?
Yes, I am.
And when were you born?
I was born in 1909, August 26th.
All right. And were you born on this road?
No, I was born on Benton Scale Bottom Road, or Scale and Paducah Bottom Road, whatever you call it.
Well, I believe I've seen the bottom road. Now that runs from the mill up on the highway down to about Sharp.
That's right.
Went through the heart of downtown Scale. So
Yeah.
you're another one of those Scalites.
Well, I live about 4 miles down the road on the highest hill on the road.
Yeah. What was your dad's name?
Ed Blakeney.
Are you kin to Clarence?
He's my uncle.
Oh, well, we got a fine citizen there. And your mother's name?
Dovey Story before she married.
Mm-hmm. So the Stories and the Blakeneys got together.
Yeah.
Now, where did you go to school?
I went to the McCain Elementary School, first 8th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and then to Sharp, graduated from Sharp High School.
Sharp High School. Well, that's real fine. We'll get back to that in just a minute. Let's do a little bit more on your family. Do you know much about your genealogy? You remember either of the grandparents?
I remember my grandfather Blakeney. He died when I was 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my grandmother's story, vaguely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how old I was, but I just little.
Yeah.
And that's the only two I remember.
Have you ever done any genealogy work and tried to trace back either side of the house?
No, I never have. There's a lot of it been done for us.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Well, where did they come from? What did you find out? Or they?
Oh, I don't really. You mean way back? I don't know about that. But my grandmother's story was raised at Old Wadesboro, born there.
Say, the original capital.
I guess.
Uh-huh.
And she was a Starks, so she's, I guess, related to a lot of people that I don't even know, you know.
Well, there's certainly a lot of Starkses in the Union Hill, Hardin area, and that's sort of Wadesboro environs, so
Well,
that takes you back to the original founding of the county. Callaway County it was at that time.
One set of my grandparents was buried at Benny Stark Cemetery, I believe. But I don't recall their names. I'd have to get up the.
Well, that's fine. That tells us something about your family. You've been here since the county originated, you might say, I suppose, if you go all the way back to old Wadesboro.
And of course, my family on the Blakeney side, well, Uncle Clarence has already told you all more than I know about it.
Well,
He's
Uncle Clarence is a good one. He's a Southern harmony singer, and well, he's about 90 years old, isn't he?
I believe he was 80.
89, his
I
last
think he was.
birthday. I know he's getting close to that. Well, McCain School, was that located, must have been fairly close to Scale.
Well, it was on near Sharp, and it was about a mile from my home.
Uh-huh. And
Of
you
course,
had
we didn't have any buses back
No.
then. We had,
no bus?
you know, we didn't walk the distance.
I had graduated from high school before a bus ever started to run in Marshall County, so I was just trying to be a little funny there. Do you remember any of the teachers you may have had at McCain?
Mr. John Johnson was my first grade teacher. And then Miss Mattie Marson, I had her a number of years, 5 or 6, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What were your main interests in school? Did you like spelling, reading, writing, arithmetic, or
Well, I just liked school, period.
you liked it all? That's the
I
way
liked
to
the
be.
outside activities too, playtime, you know.
Oh, recess. What did you do at recess?
Oh, we played
Dropping handkerchief?
dropping handkerchiefs and stealing chickens. And you ever hear of that game?
No, I never heard it. How'd you play stealing chickens?
Well, they had a bunch of sticks on each side and a dividing line, and you'd choose out sides, and you'd run across that line, get one of those sticks, and bring it back to your pile, you see. One got
And the one who had the biggest pile was the winner.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good game. I just...
Jump the rope, of course.
Oh, yeah. Did you...
Tag.
Did you like hot pepper?
Well, I liked it okay, and I wasn't too good at it.
I know they used to spin the rope real fast, and they'd say, "We'll give you some hot pepper."
Yeah.
So, on weekends, did McCain School ever have, say, a pie supper or something like that?
Yes, they had all pie suppers, box suppers. Back then we had box suppers too, you know.
Yeah. Now, a box supper was like a pie supper, except what, did it have a complete meal?
It had a complete meal in it.
Well, that'd certainly be better than just a pie supper, wouldn't it? All right. Well, you've told us about your teachers and so on. Now, you finished there, and you went to Sharp. I remember interviewing Woodrow Hill, and he said he was there when they changed the name of the basketball team from, I don't know what it was now, I've forgotten, but it changed it to Green Devils. Do you remember that?
Well, I'd already graduated when that took place. When I went, well, they just called them Sharp High School, you know.
Sharp High. Didn't have a Green Devil or some name like that for it. Were they already playing basketball back then?
Oh, yeah. I played about for a year when I went out there. We had girls' teams then, you know, teams.
Were people as fond of basketball as they seem to be in later years?
Well, it didn't have the following, of course, it has now, because transportation wasn't as good as it is now, you know, and we played on dirt floors, you know, outside. Only in the winter time, we'd go to Reedland or to Tillman. They're the only ones that had an indoor gym. And you know we didn't have much practice.
Why, no, couldn't have if you didn't have a gym at home in the wintertime, could you?
We had a hoop in one room that we practiced shooting goals, and that is a gist of it.
All right, what year did you finish high school?
1926.
1926. So that was 12 years before Sharp won the state tournament in 1938 as the best team. Who was your coach?
Homer Holland.
Homer Holland was there then. I didn't realize he stayed that long.
Yeah, he was there then.
Well, he was the state champion coach in 38. I remember him well. He told me once that he went to Hardin High School.
Is that right?
And that surprised me a little bit. He was then working, I believe, at Lone Oak when I was announcing at Paducah back in the early, or 1945, I guess it was. Now, what did you do when you finished high school? Did you...
I went to Murray 1 year and started in 26 and went 26 and 27. Got my teacher's certificate, you know. And
yes. Well, it had already become a 4-year college at that time.
yes.
Murray State Teachers College and Normal School, I believe, was the official name up to 1930.
Mm-hmm.
Many people don't remember that when they first began back in 23, it was just a 2-year school.
Yeah.
But then you could take 2 years and get a certificate, couldn't you?
Well, 1 year you could, you wouldn't get a
Lifetime. But you did get a
Yeah.
certificate that was good for 8 or 10 years, something like that.
Of course, after school was out, I went back to school, and
Some teachers went for 15 or 20 years that way, didn't
I
they?
know. Well, I never did finish it. When I got married, that took care of all of it.
Oh, well, before we get to the marriage, you got your teacher certificate. Did you use it?
I taught 2 years at
Oh.
Oak Valley.
At Oak Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to me I've heard of that place.
I'm sure you have.
That's Janie Bell's alma mater.
Mm-hmm.
You enjoyed teaching, I suppose.
Yes, I did.
About what size classes did you have? About how many were in school? You had all
Well,
8
there's
grades?
about 40 some,
Mhm.
and I had all 8 grades. So I don't recall the number of each class, but I taught everything and everybody and janitor and all that.
Say you had about 45. Well, now that would be enough to keep you busy,
Oh,
wouldn't it?
yeah. Mhm.
Today, what kind of limits are they putting on class size? Something like 25 or 30 of
I'd
them.
imagine.
And they teach 1 grade.
Yeah.
Then you taught all 8. So you had to know a little bit about history and geography and health and
I think I learned more than they did. What I mean, I had to be prepared,
Well, I've taught a lot of different subjects, and frequently, if I'm going into a class for the first time, I'm sure I learn more than the students do. You have to read ahead,
Yeah.
do your lesson plans, and so forth, and learn more than they do. Well, you said you interrupted this great teaching career by getting married. Now, who did you marry?
I married Bill Phillips.
And where did you meet Bill Phillips?
I met him at his home. I was visiting Manila Cornwall at Benton,
Mm-hmm.
and they were having a play party at his house, and she was invited, and of course I went, and that's where I met him,
So that's what play parties were for.
I guess.
Was it love at first sight?
Must have been, for the courtship was short.
Mhm. You were married, and what did he do? Was he a farmer?
Well,
or-
no, he was in home from Detroit. Worked in Detroit. He was a machinist.
Mhm.
And,
Well, did he take you and run out of Kentucky?
no, we didn't. But we married out of Kentucky. The next day, this was just a fly-by-night adventure, I guess you'd call it, because the next day, he went back to Detroit. And on Monday, the school was out, and on Monday, I was going to visit my brother and his wife in Detroit.
Mhm.
So he came over, of course.
You went to Detroit, and he knew about it.
Mhm.
You'd let him know that, and so he came to see you.
Mhm.
And were you married in Detroit then?
Married in Detroit. Wasn't that a low blow to my parents?
It may have been.
For they didn't even know him,
Uh, so,
I wouldn't appreciate my children doing me that way.
but it lasted.
Yeah, it lasted 51 years.
So-
We'd been together 51 years when he passed away.
So you can't ever tell. An exact formula to follow may not work out, and one that doesn't maybe seem ideal turns out to be the greatest. Well, that's part of life too. All right, you were married. How long did you live in Detroit?
Oh, we lived in Detroit. We came home 1938 to stay, but we didn't live there all the time. We'd come a slack time, we'd have to come back to Kentucky, you know. Then when the work picked up, we'd go back.
Go back.
So,
But off and on, you were there about 10 years
Yeah.
or so. And he worked as a machinist. Was it a well-known company? Like.
oh, it was a roller bearing then.
Yeah.
So,
Made bearings for cars and other kinds of machinery
Yeah.
and so forth. Now, you eventually moved back to Kentucky. Did you come to Marshall County?
yeah, we
And
right here in this neighborhood.
came here to stay. What did he do then?
Well, he farmed a couple of years. His father owned a couple of farms, so he farmed, and then he got during the war, you know, he went to Indianapolis and worked at Allison Engineering. We moved there. We didn't for 1 year, and came back here then. I said 38. Now we've moved back. We were away 1 year, but we moved back in 40. We went in 41, and we moved back in 42. And he went to work at the railroad shops. He got a job down there closer to home. And
Did you ever work on the farm?
oh yeah, I sure have.
What did you dislike about it most?
Well, I don't know. I like being out. I'd rather work out than to work in.
I thought you'd say killing tobacco worms.
No, that never did bother me.
Never bothered you. Okay. Pick strawberries any?
Pick strawberries, suckered tobacco, and everything's to be done on the farm.
Blackberries?
Blackberries.
Ever get any chiggers?
Oh yeah,
That was an aggravating
that
little pest.
that
wasn't
was bad.
it? Well, tell us about your children. How many?
Well, I have 7 children, and they all live around here. But one son that lives at Providence, and he's a dentist. He lives in Jimmy lives in Providence.
Webster County, Kentucky?
Yeah.
Well, that's not
far.
terribly far.
No,
he,
no.
he can come see you.
Comes often, and we can go up there. So he's the only one that lives away from home.
And the other 6
Live around here.
live right around here. Well, that's great. I suppose out of that number you must have some grandchildren.
19.
Well,
A few.
I'd say you
Finest
have,
ones you ever did see, Granny thinks, you know.
yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's wonderful. Tell us a little about early times around here. Anything that you remember, particularly about, say, the stores or preachers or churches, or what happened at Big Singing or Tater Day, or
Well, I never did go to Tater Day. Of course, Tater Day used to be more for men, you know. I mean, when I was growing up. Well, I never have been many times since, but of course, Big Singing was a big day in the year.
you got a new hat for that.
Oh, yeah. Got new clothes, out and out.
Did you ever have an ostrich feather in your hat?
No, no, I never did.
I was going to ask you if you ever got the feather broken or something, or some big calamity that happened to you.
No. Nothing I remember happened at Big Singing, only the year that it turns so cold, you know, and my aunt and I, she was 2 years younger than me, and we had on these organdy dresses and like to froze to death going home in an open top car.
Yeah. That would be rough. But
Yeah.
of course, I've seen it rather chilly for Derby Day, which is in May, and of course, it can get rather cool.
Oh, it snowed a little that day.
Now, an organdy dress is one of that real filmy,
Thin,
light
yeah.
material, and you wished you'd had a fur coat. I
Yeah,
guess,
that's
but-
right.
Well, what was, do you remember Scale from its earliest times? What were there
Yes.
stores there?
I, uh, there used to be when I was a child and we'd go to Oak Valley to church, we'd always go home with my Uncle Clint Story for dinner. And of course I couldn't wait to get across to Pansy. Luce Burnham's lived next door. Pansy and I were the same age, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I recall about the store there, that was the height of that day's visit, getting to go down there and get a Cracker Jack or a Coke or something like that, you know. We didn't.
You were really living
Oh,
then.
living high.
Yeah. Oh, I can remember Cracker Jacks. I hadn't thought of them in a while, but that is the greatest popcorn. And each package, I believe, had a prize in it.
Couldn't wait to get to the bottom, see what you're going to get.
You'd have something like a Jack Snapper or a whistle or some such thing.
We're living in a different age now, though, aren't we?
Well, it takes more to excite the kids now. They've seen about everything.
I know.
So.
And
You remember your first car ride?
yes, I remember. I was just a kid, and our doctor at Sharp, Dr. Edmund, a couple of us kids was on the road, down on the road. We heard a car coming, you know, we'd run to see it. And he stopped and told us he's just going up about a mile up there to see somebody. If we wanted to ride up there with him, why, we could. And sat in the car while he went in to see him, and that was the first time I ever rode in a car.
Mm-hmm. Oh, now that was really a thrill, wasn't it? Did you ever ride in an airplane?
No. Don't want to either.
No. They sometimes fall, of course.
I remember the first time I ever saw an airplane. My mother was selling war bonds during World War II, and we'd gone 3 miles walking down from home, and when we were, well, that day, it's November the 11th, because it called while we were there that armistice signed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And of course everybody's so joyful, you know, and going home while there's a little small plane come over, you know, and we were just a waving and a hollering. Of course I was young then, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so you saw your first airplane, but you still don't want to take a ride in
no,
one.
be a have-to case.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't ride in one, but
When did you ever get to go to Paducah back in those days?
oh yeah, we went to Paducah.
What did you think about the 10-story building? I believe it was built in 1909.
Well, I don't guess I paid a bit of attention to it. I probably couldn't wait to get in the dime store. That helped more interest to me.
Yeah.
I remember when I was small, my mother and brother, Guy, and me went to Paducah in the buggy. And there's a movie on about the Civil War. And this teacher suggested, you know, if they'd be interested to see.
Sure.
So that was something to go to a movie, you know.
As before they had a movie in Benton.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Paducah. Mm-hmm.
Well, your grandmother, maybe, or your mother, did they ever doctor you with old-time remedies of some
Oh,
kind?
sure did.
What were some of those?
Well, castor oil. And,
I take it that you really love castor oil.
No, and for croup, they'd drop a few drops of kerosene on sugar, and you'd
You'd
eat
take
that.
Well, what was catnip for, I wonder?
It's your stomach disorder, I suppose.
Did you ever put an asafoetida bag around
No,
your neck?
I never
You've,
went that far.
you've smelled that stuff.
Yes, I have.
Well, I've heard of people using that and said it warded off disease. And if the people around you smelled it, I imagine that they stayed away
They
from it.
stayed away, didn't they?
So, well, you know, we're just about to run out of time, but I'd like to get any kind of a, would you tell us life's most embarrassing moment?
I can't think of any now. I've had several of them, but I don't recall them.
You were never playing on a haystack and lost a shoe? That
No,
happened one time. We were thrashing wheat, and I was about 9 years old. And I remember there was a girl named Rubine Graham, 3 or 4 years older than I. And we were all playing on the straw pile. And she had a new pair of shoes, which you didn't see very often. That I thought rich people just would get new shoes in the summertime, you know, when you could go barefooted all year, or during those months. And she lost one of those shoes, and we pawed through all the straw we could and worked till dark, till we couldn't see, and we never did find the shoe. Like to killed her, and I think her dad maybe paddled her a little bit for, as a good bit of the year's budget gone.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, what's the funniest thing ever happened to you? Or just something that you recall maybe as being amusing? We won't ask that it be number one.
Yeah. I'd have to think about that too. I don't know.
Well,
I've had quite a few embarrassing moments and funny moments too, but just to pinpoint one, I can't.
Did any of the children ever embarrass you?
Well, you know they did.
Yeah. Well, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. Our time has run away. We're pleased to have been today on Phillips Road talking with Mrs. Reba Phillips, who has 19 grandchildren, 7 children.
And 19 great-grandchildren.
Great-grandchildren?
19 great-grandchildren.
Now, that's really something.
You don't wonder that I don't have them all in my house for a meal, don't you, anymore.
Yeah, that would be quite a group, although you have a very lovely place. This is Ray Mofield speaking. We return you now to our studios.